The grey-suited man didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even glance at the knives in their hands. The subway rocked forward, metal screaming against metal, the wounded veteran choking on his own blood while passengers froze like mannequins. One gangster whispered, "That's him!" And suddenly the car felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were breathing in, because Bumpy Johnson didn't rush violence. Violence rushed him. One of the knife men tried to smile, tried to laugh it off, said nobody had to get hurt, said they were just passing through Harlem business. Bumpy finally turned his head, slow as sunrise, eyes empty of anger but full of finality. He said nothing, did nothing. And somehow, every man holding steel felt like he'd already been sentenced. The train screeched into the next station, doors sliding open with a hiss like a coffin lid lifting. No one moved. Not the woman screaming, not the bleeding soldier, not the gangsters. Bumpy stepped off first, calm as a church bell, adjusted his cuffs and waited on the platform. That's when the real fear hit. Because Bumpy never handled things in public, he handled them where echoes couldn't testify. Two of the gangsters ran. They barely made it to the stairs before Harlem swallowed them whole. Witnesses later swore the shadows themselves moved. One man slipped on the steps and never got back up. Another vanished so completely his mother kept setting dinner for him for 10 years. No body, no funeral, just silence. The remaining two stayed frozen on the train, knives shaking now, eyes darting like trapped animals. Bumpy stepped back inside, glanced once at the dying veteran, then at the men. Still no gun, still no threats. Just 3 words, spoken soft enough to be mistaken for mercy. "Get off here." They obeyed. Of course they did. On the platform, Harlem men were already waiting, faces blank, hands buried in coats, eyes cold with purpose. No shouting, no punching, no mess. Just quiet movement, like chess pieces being slid off the board. Passengers inside the train never heard a scream, but nobody ever saw those men again. Bumpy knelt beside the wounded soldier, tore his own shirt into strips and pressed them into the man's chest, told him to breathe slow, told him he wasn't done yet. Then he handed him off to medics at the next stop and vanished into the tunnels like smoke. 3 days later, Harlem shut down. Barber shops closed, clubs dimmed their lights, churches filled past standing room, not for the gangsters, for the soldier, because he lived. And because word spread that 4 men had tried to bring knives into Bumpy Johnson's neighborhood, and Harlem had answered. They say power is loud, but that night proved something different. True power doesn't shout, it doesn't threaten, it waits, and when it moves, Harlem cries, and nobody ever forgets why. The IRT roared south through Harlem like a steel heartbeat, carrying 5 men who weren't there to ride. Danny Moran sat stiff, eyes forward, jaw locked, while Finn Riley flexed his fingers around the knife in his coat. Liam O'Connor whispered that tonight would make them legends. Mickey Doyle laughed too loud. Tommy Burns said nothing at all, because hunters don't talk when they're close to prey. 3 blocks away, Bumpy Johnson sat above Small's paradise, the glow of policy sheets reflecting in his calm eyes. Illinois Gordon stood beside him, reading numbers, thinking about tomorrow's collections. Then the phone rang, and a boy's voice cut through the room like a blade through silk. 5 white guys boarded at 149th, armed, heading south. Bumpy didn't blink, didn't curse, didn't rush. He only asked where they were. "Still riding," Shoes said. 2 minutes from 145th. Bumpy checked his watch. 6:47 p.m. And in that moment, Harlem shifted without knowing why. Mae Johnson left church every night at 6:15. She boarded at 145th every night, and 5 armed men were now on a train rolling straight toward her. Bumpy's jaw tightened just enough to be noticed. "Illinois," he said quietly. "Get Willie and quick. 2 cars. Cover 125th. Both exits." "You going alone?" Illinois asked. Bumpy slid on his coat. "I'm meeting my wife," he said. "But I want insurance." Then softer, colder. "Put guards on Harlem Hospital. 4th floor surgical ward. If these boys start something, they'll be wounded. And wounded men talk." Illinois nodded. He already understood the math. Not just who might die, but who might survive, and what survival could cost. Bumpy checked his 45. 7 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. He didn't think he'd need it. The train slowed into 145th Street. Metal screamed, doors hissed open, and fate stepped inside the car at the exact moment 5 hunters realized they were no longer alone. Bumpy Johnson boarded calmly, grey suit, hat straight, eyes steady. He didn't reach for his gun, didn't raise his voice, didn't even look dangerous. But every man on that car felt the temperature drop, because Harlem had rules, and one of them was standing 3 feet away. Finn Riley whispered, "That's him." Mickey Doyle swallowed hard. Danny Moran's hand tightened around his knife, and Tommy Byrne felt something he hadn't felt since childhood. Fear without shape, fear without escape. The train lurched forward again. Somewhere in the car, a veteran collapsed. Blood hit the floor, a woman screamed, and the hunt ended before a single blade ever found its target, because when Bumpy Johnson didn't move, it meant someone else was about to disappear. At 6:48 p.m., May Johnson boarded the train at 145th Street. 18 passengers sat scattered across the car, tired faces, quiet lives, Harlem ending another long day. May took a seat near the middle, opened her Bible, and began reading Psalms, her lips barely moving. She didn't notice the men at first, but everyone else did. Danny Moran and his crew stood near the doors, loud, careless, drinking from a flask like they owned the rails. The train lurched forward toward 137th. Danny smiled slowly, the kind of smile that came with bad intentions. "Boys," he said, "I think we're in the wrong neighborhood." Finn laughed. "Yeah, Danny, let's get off at the next stop." "But first," Danny said, "let's make sure these good people understand the new situation." He snapped open a switchblade. Click. "New management in Harlem, folks. Your old boss, Dutch Schultz, dead." Then he grabbed Thomas Green, 68, retired janitor, yanked his arm, twisted hard. The crack echoed through the car. Thomas screamed. Finn took the watch. "Lesson 1, Danny said. "When we ask, you give." No one moved. This was 1947 New York. Black folks knew the rules. Don't fight white men with weapons, not unless you wanted to die. The train pulled into 137th. Doors opened. Half the passengers ran. 12 remained. All black. All terrified, including May Johnson and Samuel Price. 22 years old. Construction worker, war veteran. He'd fought in France, seen camps, come home believing America might change. Watching the old man's wrist snap, watching fear crawl across the car, Sam felt something he remembered from war. That moment when silence becomes a decision. Danny moved through the car, louder each theft. Tearing coats, dumping purses, laughing at people who couldn't fight back. "You see how easy this is?" he told his crew. Harlem's trained not to resist. Then he saw May, calm, Bible in her lap. "Well, look at this," Danny said. "A church lady." She didn't look up. "I'm going home to my husband," May said. "He's meeting me at 125th. If you're still here when he arrives, you won't leave this train alive." For 1 second, Danny hesitated, then laughed. "What's his name? Your Superman husband?" She didn't answer. Danny yanked her up. Her Bible fell. Her purse spilled open. Lipstick, keys, compact, and a small .38 revolver. May lunged, grabbed it, spun, pulled the hammer. "Let me go." Click, empty chamber. Danny ripped it from her hand. Stupid woman thought she was going to shoot me. He grabbed her hair. That's when Sam stood up. "Let her go." Silence. Danny turned. "You a hero? I'm just asking you to leave her alone. And if I don't, then you deal with me." Danny raised his knife. "You ever been cut before?" "France. Shrapnel. That was war. This is business." The train was pulling into 135th. 15 seconds. Danny lunged, stabbed Sam in the stomach, twisted the blade. Sam looked down at the blood, looked up. "I was just trying to help." Then he fell. Blood pooled beneath him. May screamed. Doors opened. 3 passengers ran. 9 remained. And then the man in the grey suit stepped on board. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Sam lay bleeding on the floor. May was on her knees, hands soaked red, pressing into his wound. Danny and his crew stood over them, knives out. And at the front of the car, Bumpy Johnson stood perfectly still. Danny squinted at him. "Car's full, Pops. Find another seat or get off at 125th. Bumpy didn't answer. He walked forward. Eyes locked on Danny. An elderly woman whispered, "That's Bumpy Johnson." and fled. 3 more followed. 6 passengers gone. Fear moving faster than the train. "You somebody I should know?" Danny asked. Bumpy knelt beside Sam, checked his pulse. Weak, fading. He saw it instantly. Internal bleeding. No ambulance could save him now. "Sam," Bumpy said softly. "Can you hear me?" Sam's eyes fluttered. "Barely." "Your mother, Dorothy Price. 47, West 133rd. "I know her," Bumpy said. "I'll take care of her. She'll never work another day." Sam's lips moved. "Tell her I tried." "I will," Bumpy said. "You're a hero, Sam. Harlem won't forget you." Sam's eyes closed. Breathing slowed. Bumpy stood, looked at May. She saw it immediately. There was nothing they could do. She tried to rise. Danny grabbed her hair. "She stays." Bumpy's voice didn't rise. "Take your hand off my wife." "Your wife?" Danny laughed. "You the Superman husband?" "Last chance," Bumpy said. "Take your hand off her. Get off at 125th. Leave New York tonight. And if I don't, you die in Harlem." "I'm Patrick Callahan's nephew," Danny snapped. "We run this city." "No," Bumpy said. "You die in Harlem." Finn pulled a gun. "He's bluffing." Bumpy drew his .45, racked the slide. 6 minutes to 125th. "Make your choice." "You shoot, I kill her." "No," Bumpy said calmly. "You kill her, I kill all 4 of you before this train stops. Then I kill your uncle. Then I burn Hell's Kitchen to the ground." There was no anger in his voice, no threat, just certainty. Danny hesitated, then pride took over. "Finn," he said. "On 3. Bumpy shot Finn in the elbow. The joint exploded. Finn screamed, dropped his gun. 5 minutes, Bumpy said. Danny released May. Stepped back. "You're making a mistake." "Your uncle made the mistake," Bumpy said. "He failed to teach you the most important lesson." "What's that?" "Know your enemy. Know your territory. Know when you're beat." He shot Tommy in the knee. Tommy collapsed screaming. 4 minutes. Lesson 1. Actions have consequences. He turned to Liam. "You touched my wife's dress." Crack. Left knee. 3 minutes. Lesson 2. Respect is not optional. Mickey dropped to his knees. "I'll talk. I'll testify." "No, you won't," Bumpy said, "because if you do, I visit your family, your mother, your sister, everyone you love." Mickey nodded. The train slowed. 2 minutes. Bumpy looked at Danny. "You're delivering a message to your uncle." "What message?" "Tell him you came to Harlem to take my territory. Tell him what happened. Tell him if he sends anyone else." He leaned close. "They end up like you." "Like me," Danny said. "I'm still standing. For now." The train stopped. Doors opened. Bumpy backed out. May followed. Behind them, Samuel Price took his last breath. 7:08 p.m. The doors closed. The train carried 4 wounded men, 1 dead hero, and 6 witnesses who would never forget. Detective Robert Walsh arrived at Harlem Hospital at 7:45 p.m. 1 dead body, 4 wounded suspects, 6 shaken witnesses, and every story matched. Sam Price tried to help. He was killed. Bumpy Johnson defended his wife. Self-defense. Clean and simple. Walsh's captain pulled him aside. "This is radioactive. So we charge the Irish crew," Walsh said. "Murder, assault, robbery, and called Johnson's actions justified. And Patrick Callahan? That's not police business." That night, Walsh's phone rang. "This is Bumpy Johnson. We should talk." They met in Riverside Park just before midnight. Cold wind, empty benches, city lights flickering like nervous eyes. "Sam Price deserves justice," Bumpy said. "And if the law won't deliver it—" He paused. "The street will." Walsh didn't argue. He understood exactly what that meant. The next morning, the charges against Danny Moran and his crew stood. Murder, assault, robbery. No deals, no favors, no shortcuts. But Harlem knew something else was coming. Something quieter, colder, more permanent. Because when Bumpy Johnson picked up the phone, it was never just to talk. Patrick Whitey Callahan was 52 years old and smart. Smart enough to know Danny hadn't just caused trouble. He'd started a war. 4 men wounded. 1 black war veteran dead. NYPD watching. Bumpy Johnson furious. Harlem boiling. Whitey considered retaliation. Burn Harlem. Send 20 men, make an example. But he knew the math. Harlem was Bumpy's territory. Every street, every business, every politician. A war there wouldn't make him king, it would make him broke. So he chose another move. Eliminate the evidence. February 14th, 3 a.m. 2 hired guns in fake orderly uniforms walked into Harlem Hospital. Their target, Finn Riley and Tommy Byrne. Dead witnesses don't testify. They carried syringes. Morphine, quiet, clean, final. But Bumpy had already thought 3 steps ahead. Illinois Gordon had men stationed on the 4th floor. Wrong uniforms, wrong badges. Let them get to the room, Illinois said. I want them caught trying. The door opened, syringes raised, then Illinois stepped inside. Drop it. They froze. 30 minutes later, they were zip-tied in Bumpy's warehouse, bleeding from the mouth, shaking from fear. Who sent you? Illinois asked. Silence, then pain. 5 broken fingers later, the truth came out. Whitey Callahan. Illinois relayed the name. Bumpy nodded once. Good. Then he sent them back. With a message. At 6:30 a.m., Whitey Callahan's phone rang. He didn't recognize the number, but he already knew the voice. Mr. Callahan, Bumpy Johnson. Whitey sighed. What do you want? Your nephew crossed my line. He killed a good man. That's on you. What are you demanding? I want the 6 men who worked with Danny. Bring them to me. That's my crew. Your crew crossed my territory. What happens to them? They learn, then they leave New York. Silence stretched across the line, that if I refuse, your club burns, your people die, and we go to war, and you lose. Whitey closed his eyes. 20 years in the game. He'd fought Italians, Jews, cops, but Bumpy Johnson, different animal. When? Whitey finally asked. Tonight, midnight. After the call, Whitey sat alone in his office, staring at nothing. 20 years of survival told him the truth his pride didn't want to hear. A smart boss, he said to his consigliere, knows when he's been beat. February 14th, 11:58 p.m., Callahan's social club sat quiet, lights low, smoke heavy in the air. Whitey waited with 6 men, tense, armed, hands close to their jackets. The door opened. Bumpy Johnson walked in with 5 men. Eddie Murphy smirked. That's all you brought? Then the back door exploded inward. Windows shattered. 16 armed men flooded the room, steel and certainty in their eyes. Nobody dies, Bumpy said calmly. We're just having a conversation. Illinois zip-tied the 6 crew members. Whitey stood. I'm coming too. Bumpy studied him. Smart choice. They drove to the warehouse. 7 chairs. 7 men. Concrete floor. Cold air. Fear thick enough to taste. February 12th, 1947, Bumpy said. Your nephew terrorized my neighborhood, killed Samuel Price, put hands on my wife. That's your failure. He paced. You 6 knew what he was doing. That makes you complicit. We didn't know, Eddie cried. Silence, Bumpy said. He nodded to Illinois. Both knees. Wait, Whitey started. Crack. Right knee. Whitey screamed. Crack. Left knee. One by one. Eddie cried about his daughters. Did Sam Price have family? Bumpy asked. Eddie nodded. Too late for sorry. Crack, crack. 14 shots. 7 men. None would walk normally again. Bumpy knelt in front of Whitey. A boss teaches respect and boundaries. You taught neither. He slid a note into Whitey's pocket. Call ambulances. Keep them alive. Then he walked out. The note read, A boss teaches 2 things. Respect and boundaries. You taught neither. Now both are broken. Leave New York. If I see you again, next time it's not your knees. Harlem mourned, but Harlem also remembered. Barbershops buzzed with whispers, clippers pausing mid-cut, churches echoed with murmurs of respect, street corners held silent nods. Did you hear? They asked one another. Sam Price stood up for Bumpy's wife. They killed him, and Bumpy made them pay. At Small's Paradise, the bartender shook his head at a white customer. Not tonight, maybe not ever. At 135th Street Market, vendors hung a sign above their stalls. Samuel Price, hero of Harlem, protected by Bumpy Johnson. Inside Abyssinian Baptist Church, Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. addressed the congregation. I'm not here to glorify violence, but when the law won't protect us, sometimes protection comes from unexpected places. 2,000 souls packed the pews for Sam's funeral. Bumpy covered every expense, $500 a month for Sam's mother, for life, college fund for his sister, no speeches, no condolences from him. He stood quietly in the back. Everyone saw him, everyone understood. One of ours had died, and Bumpy had made it right. Harlem would never forget Samuel Price, nor the grey-suited man who ensured his sacrifice was honored. May Johnson breathed again. But the weight lingered. For weeks, sleep eluded her. Nightmares clawed at her mind. Blood, screaming. Memories of Samuel Price's final moments haunted her. "He died because of me," she whispered between sobs. "No," Bumpy said, steady and unshaken. "He died because he stood up." 2 weeks later, she returned to the subway, hands trembling, heart pounding, eyes darting at every stranger. But recognition softened the fear. An elderly woman offered her seat. A construction worker nodded with quiet respect. At 135th Street, Bumpy stepped on board, grey suit impeccable, calm unshakable. He slid into the seat beside her. "You okay?" he asked, voice low but certain. "I am now," she replied, feeling the tension finally ease. They rode together through Harlem, streets that had seen violence, fear, and death, streets that now whispered protection, respect, and memory. Harlem never forgot. Harlem protects its own, and she knew she was among the protected.